Yo, what is up? We are in Empire's border riding with Namki. Namki, a re-roller in a 277. He's got about 4,899 games. Yes, he's a re-roller, but he's a very high-performing re-roller, averaging over just about nearly 5,000 WN8. A really good player. So let's have a look at his style of playing the 277 now. He looks like he's running a full premium heat shells loadout now. He switched the positions of the heat shells from the number 2 key to the number 1 key. Make no mistake, he is firing full heat shells. A lot of these high performing players are always firing full premium shells. I don't blame them. They want to connect a higher percentage of their shots. They want less of their shots to bounce or to not penetrate, so they are firing full premium heat shells here. Now the 277 of course is one of the most popular tanks, most popular tier 10 heavy tanks in the game. Whether you are a tournament player or a casual player, the 277 is one of the most popular tanks out there. If you play a lot of clan wars, advances, strongholds, if you don't have a chieftain, if you don't have one of those fast heavy tanks like a chieftain, the caller will always ask you to pick out a 277, which you should have if you are, you know, any kind of a serious player that wants to max out your performance levels, to get the maximum damage, to get the maximum performance out of your tier 10 heavy tanks. So 277 is the most popular heavy tank in the tech tree, in my opinion, other than the 279E of course, but that is more like a reward tank that you need to get doing all the missions. If you look at the score right now, just over 2.5 minutes and he's already done 2,472 damage. Take a look at where he is shooting the E4. He is going for the turret face, he is looking for the lower plate, he is making sure that he pulls the trigger only when he has a certain, like he has a sure shot, and that is why our friend here is doing really well. Already 3,551. Look at how he is managing his position. He decides to shoot the ISU out in the back. He's ignoring that one shotter defender in the low ground there because he is protected by the rocks. So what he's doing is just shooting these guys here that do not have their guns pointed at him, while he is trying to stay hull down away from that defender. So he is picking apart this Ferdinand. He is picking apart they can't be pointing their guns at two places at one time, so he is doing that for them. He eats a shot from the VK and he turns his hull slightly to the left just in time before the VK pulled the trigger. You can see that he is anticipating the shot from the VK, and he tried to eat that shot from that VK and he managed to bounce it, and that is a really well done. But there you go, experienced player, knowing how to use the armor to your advantage. This is what separates the boys from the men. You can learn a little bit here from our friend Namski. If you need to rewind the tape and watch the replay all over again, watch how he manages this situation where he is literally 1v5. The rest of his team is just hanging at the back on the 1-2 line and sniping from a distance. No one actually came up to try and help him, but you know, these kind of games where you do 10,000 damage, you do need your team to be pretty bad in order for you to get these kinds of these types of performances. One, you need to be a pretty good player and know what you're doing. Two, you need your team to help you out by not helping you out, by sucking, by being totally bad at the game. And that's the only reason why our friend Namsky here managed to rake up 7,290 damage so far. If you look at the rest of his team, nearly all of them are 100% HP. Nearly all of them are full HP. They all are very healthy, and none of them came to the aid of the 277 here. And now you see him rushing back to the base to protect the base, and because of that he's going to be rewarded with a lot of tanks for him to shoot at, which means he's going to get more damage for himself. Unfortunately, he took some splash damage from his own teammate, but this is how these games work. They just happen to work that way, and he manages to land a shot on that IS-7. Now you're going to see a bit of a comedy here coming up real soon. What you're going to see is the T-34 and the 257 apparently trying to back him up, but pushing him forward. You can see the 257 and the T-34 fighting amongst themselves, pushing each other forward, being toxic. In fact, trying to get our friend in the 277 here killed, and because of that he took a big hit, lost 413 damage to that pattern, and he's had enough. He's gonna back out, but as he's backing out he is being pushed. He can't land his shots because these two tanks, these two jokers here behind him are rubbing into him and destroying his reticule, his aim, and there's nothing he can do about it. So the best thing he can do is just back off, try to have situational awareness, know where his own toxic teammates are, and try to stay away from them as much as possible. As you can see, the T-34 is now pushing that 257, which is full HP. He should be taking a hit and finishing off those two remaining tanks, but Namsky here in the 277 looks at this as two tanks with hardly any more HP left. Not much more he can do here. He decides to turn around and go back down south, the 1-2 line, where there is the Waffenträger that perhaps has a little bit more HP. Waffenträger, Conway, and a T-62A which possibly has a lot more HP for him to farm. So he's decided to go back down south. Whoops, there you go, there is the Waffenträger tier 9 tank destroyer, much like the Borsig kind of Rheinmetall Borsig kind of setup, kind of like a tractor with a big gun, and he has made a blind shot into that corner. He only has 5 shells left and 2 HE shells. He's loading into his HE shells so he can do bigger damage on that Waffenträger instead of the regular 490 damage you can do with your normal AP and heat shells. He's firing those HE shells, and he got a 590 roll on that Waffenträger and finishes him off with the last HE shell for 15 damage. And you can see he's got 5 more shells left, 1 more enemy tank left. What is he going to do? He's just going to finish off all his shells and save his last shell for the T-62A. I think he's going to rig a Fadin's medal for himself. A lot of the good players do this. They are very well aware of their ammo loadout, how much ammo they have left. He can rig a Fadin's medal, so might as well do it. He's going to fire off 1 more shot, and now he officially has 1 more shell left in his tank. He sees the T-62A being very pensive. He just needs to make sure that he's not giving away his lower plate, and he's going to sneak up slowly and pull the trigger and finish off that T-62A. And just like that, 11,009 damage, earns himself a very coveted Fadin's medal, as well as the Top Gun, Steel Wall, High Caliber, whatever, Ace Tanker, a bunch of medals for himself. If you learned anything, you learn how you can always manage a situation and try to survive as long as possible. 9 minutes and 50 seconds, 11,480 damage for our friend. He even blocked 3,580 with a really good use of his armor. I hope you learned something and took something positive from this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.